evening. It is 7:01. We'd like to call to order the January 11th, 2022 Village of North Bennington trustee meeting.
Oh, there we go. I see myself. Oh,
Good. So there are some minor echoing issues and the like. So if you could stay muted. Once we get to public comments, we'll obviously invite anyone who would like to speak. But other than that, please stay muted to help us kind of keep this hopefully coherent for you all. First item on the agenda is to review and approve the minutes of the Tuesday, December 7, 2021 meeting. Have all trustees had a chance to review those minutes?
I'd like to make a comment about that if I could.
Please do.
It was difficult to hear for Zoom and in person at the depot. And in the minutes under the treasurer's report, it should be noted that a payment was made on the truck loan. The truck loan was not paid off. Is that correct, Mary?
Yes, so it should say to pay down the truck loan, not to pay off the truck loan.
Correct.
I also have one amendment under, I apologize. It was where you mentioned that under old business. I'm sorry, that's not there. In the minutes, you mentioned that myself and Aaron met with zoning. It was myself and Tara.
Okay. Again, it's incredibly difficult to hear what's going on if you're on Zoom.
Yes, I bet. Oh, no worries. These are easily corrected. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any others?
Laura, you can do what you did last time. You can check in with me periodically throughout the meeting and I can give you clarification.
Okay. Thank you.
No other questions? I would entertain a motion.
So moved.
Do we have a second? Okay, we've got a second. All those in favor of approving the minutes indicate by saying aye. Aye. And that is the third. That would be unanimous. And second would be to review and approve the monthly warrants. We'll start with the big warrant. And Mary will be sharing her screen with that. The total amount for that warrant is $47,450.61. And I guess I can start with one quick question. Not payroll, we're doing. That's okay. If it's up, we can switch. Payroll. I still have payroll on mine. Why don't we switch and we'll just do payroll to start with and see if you can figure it. Okay. I'll just read off what I've got on the screen. I do. Yep. So we're going to switch it up a little. Sorry about that. We will first do the payroll warrant in the amount of $8,488.48.
So moved.
Okay. We have a motion to approve. Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor of approving the payroll warrant indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Unanimous once again. Thank you. Now, let's see if we can get, there we go. Now we've got the monthly warrant. Again, in the amount of $47,450.61. I did have one question. Century acquisition for $240.
So I
Lori,
know
do you
that that was, I do know that that was highway. Department. It was a purchase in the highway department.
Okay, and I know Norm's had a busy few days, so he won't be joining the meeting tonight.
Now,
So
if you'd like, I can grab the file and pull it out and tell you exactly what it was. It was a part.
Okay, if it's a par for highway, I'm fine with that. And Mary seconded that motion, so it is, so I'm fine with that. Any other questions on the warrant?
Yeah. Let me find it again. Cintas. Mary, do we spend that much a month for, I presume?
Those are uniforms,
Uniforms and maybe rugs or something too? or-
correct?
And that's a monthly charge?
They bill us as they do it, Matthew, so sometimes it's a little more, sometimes it's a little less, depending on the length of the month and the number of times they come. And it's been a lot lower when Norm was the only one.
Right.
But it's gone back up now that Kyle's with us. And it'll get a little bigger because the rugs are dirtier now. So.
Yep. That's fine.
Yes, Mary did just mention, we did, I know Norm was in a little bit of a panic. We did have several orders of salt. Yeah, and he had at one point, was a little nervous because he didn't think we were gonna get them so quickly. They all got delivered and they actually had to store some in the back of the truck because it didn't fit in the salt shed. And that obviously was taken care of over the past 5 days. We cleaned out a good portion of that and he's made other orders already. So yes, a good portion of this is salt. Sure, Mary's just saying something.
That you'll notice that there's 2 payments to Blue Cross Blue Shield, and that is because one of the invoices with all the delays, one of the invoices was late. It was actually due at the end of December, so I made that payment electronically, and then the new bill check was generated. Will apply to the new bill because you have to pay a month in advance. So that bill was generated. I could see it online, but Laura will have it soon.
So the reason for the 2 Blue Cross Blue Shields is a delay in getting the first bill. We were able to access it online, so we went ahead and paid them in advance. Paid one off and then paid the next in advance. If there are no other questions, I would entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to accept the warrant.
I'll second it.
Okay, all those in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye,
Aye.
again, unanimous. So we can now, I see we do have several citizens. I believe a few of you are here for specific matters. Jim, I think yours is relatively quick and straightforward. I'd hate to keep you through all these things if we can get you in. Would you like to come on for us?
That would be really nice. Thank you.
Great. So we have Jim Henderson here, who is going to speak to Stormwater master plan.
Thanks for inviting me, Mark. And first, I also would like to say a large thank you to Mary for all of the help that she always gives me for the grants that we work on together. Thank you, Mary. To get to the point, 2 weeks ago, I was contacted by the Department of Environmental Conservation to inquire which of any towns in Bennington County would be interested in having a stormwater master plan developed for them. And I suggested Bennington and North Bennington, as well as Pownell. And what this entails is absolutely no commitment financially from the town, but it would entail some site visits and some meetings. So basically, the state of Vermont will hire a contractor who will go on a site visit with Norm to look at what we know are existing erosion and trouble areas throughout the village. And then they'll do their field work and they'll scope out the entire town road network and look at the discharge pipes where the stormwater comes out in daylights, and they'll be assessing all of those outlets. Then there'll be another meeting where we review their initial inventory and all of their data that they've put together up till that time. And we will then prioritize the sites so that there's an order in which they'll be addressed. And we would also pick 3 particular sites that they would be developing 30% engineering designs for. And they will then develop a final report and do a final presentation to the to the village trustees and the public. We've done these plans for 5 other towns in the region, and all the towns have found them to be very beneficial. They come with a map of each site that they inventory with a description of the issue, what the problems are. And then, as I mentioned, there would be 3 sites that they would develop conceptual engineering designs for. So what I'm after is a commitment from the village to participate in this project. And I've drafted a letter of commitment that I've sent to Norm and to Mary. And you simply need to sign the letter of commitment. It basically outlines everything that I just told you. And then scan that and send it back to me, and I will submit it to the state, and they'll start the project late spring, early summer. In case anybody is interested to see what this type of product looks like, I printed off the Shaftesbury Stormwater Master Plan and gave a copy to Norm, and I left a copy for Mark. So if you want to look it over and see what I'm really talking about, I think you'll find it very interesting and full of lots of good information that will essentially help the village to meet the requirements of the Vermont Clean Water Act.
So I guess my one question, Jim, would be, so the upfront, there's 0 cost upfront, and that's for the contractor engineering of the site and the site visits. If we decide to participate in this, and I heard you mention that there's a 30% match towards some engineering toward the first 3 projects or the prioritized projects, if we decide to participate in this, are we committed to having to participate in projects within a certain time? So will we be committed to saying that if they identify the 3 the prioritized projects, are we committed to then, because we are participating in this program, committed to then undertaking those projects?
Well, I may have misspoke or you misunderstood me. The 30% is not a match by the town. They will, based upon our guidance, identify 3 specific project areas that they will do a 30% engineering design on.
Okay.
And there is no commitment to actually perform any of this work.
Okay.
Unless, of course, they identify some areas that the town owns that has over 3 acres of impervious surface area. And that will need to be addressed eventually, which is part of the Clean Water Act.
Yep.
Though that would be the only type of project that they would identify that you will, by state law, have to address.
Right.
And as I said, that would be the 3-acre law of impermeable surfaces.
Thank you for clarifying that. And it wasn't you who
Yep.
it was me who misheard. Mary's got something to say.
Would it be a safe assumption, Jim, that with all of the federal funds available and the state commitment to these type of projects, that should significant deficiencies be identified, that there would be funding available to assist with completing such projects?
Thanks for asking that question, Mary, because it's really important. And as I said, we've done these plans for 5 other towns, and they have found that they have a very high success rate in applying for grants to address these issues.
Perfect.
If we are applying for a grant that has been identified in one of the stormwater master plans, they have all been funded. Now, I'm not saying it's a guarantee, but the fact is that they will rise to the top of the applicant pool, because they have been identified, and they have real costs and plans associated with them.
Yeah. And I would also imagine that they want things that are identified, they want them to be taken care of because before they turn into full-blown emergencies.
Well, yes, that's true. Some of the problems could eventually turn into emergencies, but more to the point is that by state law, there are certain projects that will need to be addressed over the course of the next 10 years. And this is all coming out of the Clean Water Act, which initiated the municipal road general permit. And we're in the middle of that right now. That's why last year I did the municipal road erosion inventory. And that also identifies areas that need to be addressed, but they're more or less your basic maintenance projects like stone line ditching and culverts. They would be looking at more significant issues than what I was capable of inventorying in that latest project.
Thank you, Jim. Back to Mark.
No, so it makes perfect sense why we would want to kind of participate in this, in my mind. Just if these things are going to be coming down in the next 10 years, I feel like we've been doing a fairly good job in the village of planning for future needs, and this would fit right into that.
Absolutely.
Yep, this
Yeah,
would fit that.
you have a good road crew, that's for sure.
Yes, we absolutely do. Any other questions from the board? Okay, so we're looking for maybe a motion to say that we would like to participate in this study, and then I can go ahead and sign the paperwork. Is that correct, Jim?
That's correct.
Okay, so do we have a motion to participate in the stormwater master plan? Okay, so we have a motion. We have a motion and a second. All those in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
And that is again unanimous. So Jim, thank you very much. We appreciate you stopping by to fill us in on that. I'll get that paperwork signed. Mary did.
Thank you too.
But yeah, so we'll get that signed and off to you as soon as possible.
Mark, I'll make you and Norm my main contacts throughout
Yep.
the process. So once things get initiated, I will be back in touch with you.
Great. Thank you very
Thank
much.
you
We
very
appreciate
much.
it. Have a good night, Jim.
Okay. Good
Good night.
evening, everyone.
So again, I believe we have several. We've got a couple of, I think, shorter one-person type things, and then we'll get to the larger crowd that I see that I believe are all on the same issue. We have Scott Creedy in attendance in person. So we'll go to Scott. Scott, what I'm gonna ask you to do, I'm gonna turn my computer around. Well, he's gonna be talking. So I'm gonna turn it around. You're welcome to join us up here.
I would like to throw my hat in the ring for one of the seats that's coming up for the March vote for the trustees. And I'm particularly interested in the development of the water hydropower on Karen Creek. And, you know, I mean, I've been looking through the old annual reports, and the village has already said that global warming is a real thing and that we need to make, we need to find alternative sources of power, and we have a great history here of water power. So that would be my focus if I am fortunate enough to be elected. And I'm very cooperative. I've been on boards before, and okay. Okay. You know, I'm not, you know, I'm not here to disrupt things. I love the way the village flows, and you guys do a great job. And so I want to be as supportive and as I can be, to keep things going the way they are. But I think we have a real opportunity here, and we should pursue it.
Well, that's awesome. So
That's it.
well, yeah, I'm just gonna flip it
So
around.
do I need to get on the warning or anything like that, or just go to the meeting?
Nope, I'll flip it around here. So it's a very simple process. You just, when we meet in March, you have to be in attendance. I assume that will be at least Zoom, potentially in person, potentially a hybrid. Everything changes every day.
Right.
You simply have to,
Usually they're at the school.
which I don't believe that's going to be an option, because I know the school is not currently allowing any use in there, and I don't anticipate that changing.
All right.
We just don't know at this point, but I think I know where you live. I can, but the process is easy. You just have to have somebody there that will nominate you. And once nominated, we vote in person. Yeah, that's right. So we appreciate that very much, and thank you for coming in. And we'll be in touch, but that will be, just have to make sure you're there in person. Perfect. Scott, thank you very much. We appreciate it.
Thanks, Scott.
Have a good night.
For clarification there, Mark, it was a little hard for me to hear, but was Scott volunteering to be on the board?
Yes, he's very interested in running in March. Yes.
That's great.
Yes, absolutely. I'll speak a little bit to that later in the meeting, but certainly a need at this time. So again, Scott, thank you very much. You have a good night.
Okay. Thank you, guys.
And then we have one more, which I think is just a request from Jenny from the library. Jenny, would you like to chime in now?
Hey, I think this is just to follow up. I'm here just for the budget considerations for next, for the coming year, or the year we're in, actually. So it's kind of a follow-up to the budget conversation.
So that
Do
just,
you,
yeah, just so you know, so that the physical year, which is different from the fiscal year.
right,
So your
right,
request will be in the new fiscal year, which starts in July.
of
Okay, so-
course, right.
And I'm sorry, could you just, again? Yeah, so the request is going from, the current is 5,000, is that correct?
Right. From 25,000 to 27,500, right, Mary?
27,400. So
400.
$2,400 increase.
Right.
I believe, because this is a request of a change in yearly, I believe that would go before the voters. Lori,
It
am I
does.
correct on that?
Yeah, it has to go on the warning,
Okay,
and it does have to be voted on. That's correct.
okay, so So yeah, Jenny, we'd be happy to put
So
that.
Jenny, you're right on time because I'm going to print that warning pretty soon.
Awesome. Okay, so that's in there. And I'm just here to answer any questions you may have. I believe Lori received the annual report if last week, I believe.
I did.
If not
Thank you
before that.
very
Okay.
much. Thank you.
And yeah, we've had it's annual report season for the library. So we actually had a really pretty good year last year, despite being closed for a combination pandemic and renovations, which I was really surprised at. If you're looking for, I have a really nice little kind of one-shot printout on that. If you'd like, I'd be happy to send that along to the board if they need that for their deliberations. But also construction on the library renovation project started on bright and early on Monday. So you will see there's a dumpster out there now. You will see trucks, you will see work crews. They're in there basically cutting holes in a wall. So that's what's happening right now. But those are those ARPA funds in part hard at work. So.
Well, that's great. Well, congratulations on that.
Oh,
good.
I'm not, yeah.
And I think in terms of the, you know, the increase, I don't know that now is the time to really enter into a discussion because that discussion has to take place in front of the voters. So we would ask that you just, when obviously if you're asking for the increase, you would come at that point to be able to speak to, you know, reasons why, which I know I'm sure there are plenty of reasons why. But unless anybody else has a question, we'll just go ahead and put that on the warrant. Any other questions? Okay. So Jenny, thank you very much. And obviously we've been very supportive in the past. I don't see any reason why we wouldn't continue. But obviously we put that to the voters at large.
Great. Well, thanks. And looking forward to town meeting whenever that is.
And however.
And however, wherever, however, I'll be there.
Yes. Well, thank you very much for joining us tonight.
Oh, of
And
course.
the project, very exciting.
It is. It is. Stay tuned. We're going to have a grand reopening. So I'm very much looking forward to that.
Fantastic.
All
And
right.
congratulations again. Thank you
Yep.
very much.
Have a good night.
You too. So if I'm not mistaken, is everyone else here for Honeysuckle Lane? Yes.
Yes.
Joe, would you like to take the lead on that, or is there somebody that is going to take the lead?
No, I'll be happy to take the lead.
Okay.
It's Joe Churchill. I'm signed in as Alyssa for whatever reason, but so the first thing I want to say, can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Yeah. First thing I want to say is that, you know, I know this is on the public record, and I just want to say this is not a personal matter. I mean, this is not, if my mother was doing the same things as my neighbor is doing, I would be here complaining about it. The second thing is that, you know, we filed the appeal to the DRB, and we haven't received the confirmation of the receipt of the appeal. And I don't know if we need to do something else. I mean, you know.
Excuse me, could I interject just for a minute, Joe?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I was asked 2 days ago if the Village Depot large meeting room was available on February 15th for a presumed large crowd for a DRB meeting at 7 p.m. I confirmed that last night, and I think that's what they were waiting for before they sent out a meeting notice. If that's at all helpful, that's the information that I have.
Okay, good. Well, we just wanted to make sure we did the right thing and it was received, because we were under the impression that we only had like till tomorrow to submit the appeal. So we just want to make sure that the appeal was submitted.
Yeah. No, and I apologize. So I assumed you guys were coming tonight. Oh, partially my fault. We did know that things were in motion, and I was going to mention tonight if that had gotten moved forward. So
Okay.
As of right now, your complaints have been heard. The DRB gave their suggestion, met with zoning. They are in the process of scheduling and confirming a public hearing on it. And that public hearing will be noticed. It will be in all the right places, and I will make sure that you do get that information of when that is. So,
All right, good.
yeah, everything seems to be in motion. And I guess I don't want to get too far into the specifics of it because this isn't really the right platform for that.
I understand that.
But you will absolutely be able to voice your concerns at that public hearing.
Okay.
And I think it would be most appropriate then because the other party involved would also be present.
Mhm.
I am happy, you are more than welcome to, as a matter of record, just state that you are also here formally, just mentioning that you are here because of that issue and that you do plan on participating. But I just think it best wait, now that we do know that it is proceeding and going to a public hearing, that would be the best place to kind of get into the weeds of it, so to speak, if that makes sense.
Great. All right, I completely understand that. But there are a few things that concern the village maybe that might happen or should happen before that meeting.
Okay,
So, one is, there are quite a few of us out there who are the neighbors of Mr. Kolar. And we're all pretty much united in, our opposition to his activities. And we don't understand why he's able to use the field for his trucking business currently, whether the DRB has anything to say about it or not. I mean, he doesn't seem to have any permit to use the field. He has a permit to use the driveway, but he's been using the field for the last couple of months now.
so I
That
can see
has
that a
to
little
do
bit,
with the village.
but so that is exactly the process we're in right now. So it's not that he's
So
being
you think that a lot of that this stuff should happen on the 15th?
Yeah, so what I'm saying is the concerns were heard. The proper channels are, we notified the DRB.
Okay,
DRB said we need a hearing. So it's just like anything else. We can't go tell him, it's like,
Yeah.
it's not, we are not in a position to go say, you have to stop what you're doing.
okay.
It is,
I
can you
understand.
explain what you're doing, and then we'll make a finding based on that hearing. We are not in the know of the specifics, the DRB and the zoning are. So DRB and the zoning will hear all of the specifics, and they will say whether he is operating within those or outside of those, and they will make a finding. We as a board have no ability to do that. We
Okay,
don't have the know-how, and again, this isn't the platform to really get into those discussions because it'll basically be a one-sided discussion because we
mhm,
can't speak to them
right.
the way that they
Well,
can.
the
So
reason
not that
I
he's
meant,
being-
okay, I understand that. We don't have to get into the weeds on this, but I just wonder, we all wonder if Billy has walked the entire driveway through that wetland, and we have filed a complaint with the A&R with the state, and I know that Jamaica was in touch, has a complaint about that. I know that Leon has called them. Trevor, who lives at Jamaica's place, has called them. So I just want that to be on the record too, that, we have been talking to the state. I don't know if they've been down or not.
I believe, if it's my understanding, they have been. I also spoke to the other party involved, and I know that there was a site visit planned, and I believe he was going to provide me with some follow-up to it, but it just happened the other day. So
All
I
right,
may,
well, we haven't been able to get a copy of the drive permit. Storm has been busy, and like you said, with the storms and all the ice and everything. So we're still waiting on that.
yes,
But
that was,
okay, that's good enough for me. If anybody else in this group wants to say anything, I don't need to take up all the time. I understand what you're saying, and we'll be looking forward to the 15th, and February 15th.
Yes, I do
I-
appreciate you
I-
very much tonight. Thank you.
Go ahead, Jamaica.
I would like to, again, I sent a query to Matthew and really apologize if I sounded angry to you, Matthew, individually, but I was angry. I wonder what uses the board when we, for instance, I changed the angle of my driveway. Suddenly I get a notice saying you're violating this and we're charging you this and you have to get this. And I then apologized. But just a driveway, the board seemed, or the people responsible for these things on the board, sending me letters that frightened the hell out of me, actually, because I don't like violating the law. And I wonder how it is that making the angle of my driveway change gets me into furious trouble with the board and with people in the village. But what's going on there seems to not concern anyone. And not only that, the person who gives permits seems to have given him a permit to do things that it shouldn't be done. So I want to say, how do you all represent the interests of the residents of the village? How?
I would like to speak to that, Jamaica. So yes, I was a bit offended by your comment the other day. What happened with the driveway issue comes out of state regs regarding the appearance that there's two entrances on the onto the property. Please understand that that's a completely separate thing from what's going on now that you all are concerned about. This is not something that ever came to my attention, but it was brought to the attention to us by our foreman, highway foreman, who understands the implications of these things not being these curb cuts not being properly notified. You did exactly the thing that had to happen, which was reduce to one curb cut. Again, completely out of my jurisdiction, but the state comes in and says, well, we're going to cut your highway funding because you're messing around with access and safety issues regarding egress and on a property. That's separate from this. When this project started that you're all concerned about, I had similar concerns. And my interest was piqued by what was going on there. These are not things that trustees go into and with a strong arm, because there is a quasi-legal component to our government that deals with the zoning components. And so a process has to occur. And, much like I think back to just a month or two ago with the tower that was going up on Water Street, and the same ire that we faced from, I mean, rightly so, from people living right there that couldn't understand why we weren't doing anything. And the point is, we were doing a lot. We were allowing a process that has to occur. And that resolved itself, I think, satisfactorily, the tower issue, at least for now. Again, we are a completely separate entity from the zoning administrator. And yes, there's been a transition right at the same time from one to another. And whether or not that's a hiccup in I can't even speak because I don't know whether it's an experiential thing or I don't know the degree to which the new zoning administrator has. I thought that the report he made, at least on the 28th, was thorough, but I don't know, what, I don't know the particulars of that.
I can
Again,
assure you it was
we
not-
have, what's that?
I said, I can assure you it was not thorough. And I don't believe that he walked the property. I believe he
Okay.
talked to Mr. Kolar.
And that's fine. So
I mean,
again,
that's part
those
of the issue.
those particulars would be really important components to the appeal that you all have.
Uh-huh,
But you see, we don't have any, in
right.
fact, it would be very detrimental to your case for us to have really any opinion about what happened there,
Mhm.
because I do not know, and nor do I want to. I want for there to be a hearing. I want for the DRB, who are, I think, a skilled group of people led by Mr. Sullivan, who I think understands this stuff, to just hear you out and see where there might have been something that happened. We have to stay, all we're doing, if we're having any conversation about this with any particularity, would be exposing our own selves to to other litigation, because the state has rules about this process. I think you all did the right thing. You submitted your appeal. It went through the right channels, and as I understand it, the zoning administrator is doing what's necessary to set up and make sure that the DRB board, the Development Review Board, are going to have this hearing. And I do know, as Lori said, it's being finalized such that they can then notify you all that this is happening. They were looking for a room to do this, and the water board meets in the one room, and so I think we're looking at, what'd you say, Lori, the 15th of February?
Right.
So
go ahead.
this is very clarifying.
February 15th
First day
is the meeting, February 15th.
Okay.
Okay, this is very clarifying for me anyway. So when things happen in the village, we're not to come to you for redress or for you to help us, or because that's what I'm trying to understand. Your role is to pay the person who does the roads and the schools and so on. But if something is detrimental to the resident of the village, and I'm a resident of the village, I cannot come to the board. I have to go somewhere else. I just want to know if that's.
Well,
No,
no,
no.
I think
Well, I can think
that
of
needs
that.
that needs
Yeah,
clarification,
Yeah.
Jamaica, that,
No, so the way this process started was actually some of your neighbors contacted me. And I did go. So our job is, I went and met with them. They voiced their concerns. We spoke, and I said, my role as a trustee is to then take that information and try to get it to those that can help you. So I can't go there and knock on Mr. Kohler's door and say, hey, you can't be doing what you're doing.
No. Yeah.
So we want you to come to us when you have concerns, but our job is to then send you along the right path to those that can actually listen to your concerns and make rulings, judgments, and actually get somewhere with it. We encourage people to come and let us know. That's the only way we know things are happening. But what we usually tell them in that process, which I did tell the group I met with, I said, I am not here to give you opinions. I am here I'll take this information. I will pass it along to those who can help you. And I'm always there to keep bouncing off and in between. So we do,
So
don't
there's
get the
no,
wrong idea. We do want you to come to
Yeah.
us when you have
wait
issues.
a minute. So the zoning commissioner, who appoints him or her? That man who,
He was appointed, he's appointed by the trustees. So
he's appointed by you?
yes.
Uh-huh.
So
So,
we do have a role in his
uh-huh,
role with the village.
uh-huh. So
but
when he
He
So
applied
when
for the
he
job.
gives you the report, you take his word for it. Is that?
So we took that report, I shared it with your group. That's when they decided they were not happy with that report. So his report, just because he makes that report, we do trust his opinion. But if there is, like you guys have a disagreement with it,
Mhm.
that's why it went to the next level. We said, well, you know what, if there is a disagreement,
Yeah.
that's the job of the DRB to then hear the information and make a ruling on that disagreement. So this is exactly the way small town government works.
Yeah.
You
How
start off
is he appointed? What qualifications does he have? What is his how does he get appointed? I mean, can anybody be appointed to the zoning commission? Does he have to pass an exam?
No, anybody can apply, just like anybody can apply to be a trustee, and we encourage a lot of those who are interested to do so this year, because there will be several positions up.
So this man has no qualification.
No, can I?
Yes.
You asked
go
the
ahead.
question.
Sorry.
I answered it. So we had an opening. He applied. He is in the building trades, so he has experience in building. He then trained under our current zoning administrator, who still advises him. So some of his rulings have been at the guidance of our former zoning administrator, who was fantastic.
Who was that?
This person applied for the job, put in a letter, gave us his qualifications, and we knew that he was going to train under the prior zoning administrator. So that's how these things work. So he didn't come in on day one being authority, but he certainly has trained and worked under the prior zoning administrator to keep, and he has him as a reference and as a go-to if he needs help with it. But that's the way things work in a village the size of 2,000 people. Is we rely on citizens to step up, run for these offices, and we do put a lot of trust in them, because as I have found out recently, you can't do this by yourself.
No. You put a lot of trust in them. So this person is a builder. What does it mean he's a builder?
Okay, I really don't want this to turn, this is not the place to have a query about our zoning administrator.
Mark, I can speak.
Speak to it, just a second, Matthew. You came to speak about an issue. We have listened to the issue. I find I'm getting a little uncomfortable with us attacking somebody who is not here to defend himself and attacking his qualifications when I can't speak to them specifically. But I don't think this is the time or place for that. This is somebody who, again, in a very small village that relies on volunteer work for the most part to make all of this happen. We are incredibly appreciative of all those that step up. And again, encourage all of you. All of these positions are open to every person on this screen and every person in this village. But I'll let the board speak after this, but I don't feel comfortable getting into tearing apart somebody who is volunteering and working on behalf of the village in this meeting right now. I prefer not to go down that road.
Very well.
The process for, testing a person's credentials would be exactly what you're doing. I mean, if there's a concern about whether or not that's was a good, again, I don't know anything about the particular thing, because I need to stay out of it. But I will remind you, Jamaica, that maybe 15 years, 20 years ago, you sat on the planning or DRB board, I'm not sure which. And so you should know something about how that works.
Well, I do actually, and it's why I left and stay away from it. The thing about these personal relationships, it's very easy for them to be corrupted. And I don't mean that in some big city way. You know people and well, it's all okay. But it's not. Okay, yeah, I was on the board, and I forced my way on the board because there was an attempt to keep me off the board, and it was racial. But I wasn't going to bring it up, but since you did, I'll just tell you, yes, I know a little bit about the board, and I never wanted to be on the board again, but it seemed as if I might have to rethink that. I will rethink that. The process of appointing people to do something as important as what's done here, and because he's a builder, that just isn't right. But you're right. This is not the place, And I apologize for any personal offense I caused you. I apologize for that.
No
Sincerely.
offense, but again, I think that the credentials of the zoning administrator can be vetted or observed within the proper channels and the hearings that you're all going to have.
Yeah.
You know, I think Mark's point is that we are a small village, and we've been fortunate to have some good people step up to deal with these issues, you know, but there's always going to be missteps or dissatisfactions by neighbors as to what happens. The point is, there is a set of laws, there's a set of zoning bylaws that do set the framework for what is considered acceptable and not in a given zoning. So if we boil this down to that, I think your point is, you do live in a place that already has laws bylaws that regulate what can and cannot be done in that zoning.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so your job is as neighbors is to question whether or not this decision as it stands at this point reflects adequately those current conditions. And that's what this is what this next process is about. And we must, otherwise, you know, we go from here. As I said to Alyssa, I don't know what's, you know, having read the opinion, sometimes, you know, you can't precognate what the plans are of somebody who's moving to do something on a piece of land adjacent to you. And until there is some indication that there's a violation of those basic rules, then no one can do anything. And I have no evidence, again, because I'm going to stay out of it, that at this point, that he's in violation of any of the bylaws. But that's what you're going to take to.
But let me just say, it would not be proper for any member of the board to examine the site and say, so just to look, not to take a position, but just to look and familiarize yourselves with the zoning issues that you have delegated to this builder, who is now the zoning commissioner, to say to him, well, all right, we're going, because we're going to go to court. So it doesn't occur to any of you to say, because you are the board of trustees, you're supposed to look after the citizens, including that man.
Yes.
who
So,
is-
so I think we've gone as far as I'm really comfortable going with this, because
Okay, okay.
this is taking a turn that I did not anticipate. If there are concerns about somebody, there are formal ways to bring those up, and it's not
To
right
you,
now.
not
So
to you.
if you have issues with any of us, if you have an issue with me,
I
you
do
are-
not.
you're welcome. I know I was using an example. I didn't say you did. Of course, as citizens of North Bennington, you have every right to lodge formal complaints about anybody you can, but this is not
Okay.
process for that.
Mhm.
There are more comments from anybody who hasn't had a comment yet. I would love to hear from them, but I think we've gone down the road of this road long enough. But I would love to hear. I know you guys, there are several that haven't had a chance to speak yet, so please do.
If I may, just by way of introduction, Steve Lennox, my wife Michelle Samore, we live next to.
Oh. Did you do that? Sorry, you got muted.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought we had unmuted ourselves. Sorry.
You're good.
I'm Steve Lennox. My wife Michelle Samore. We just moved in just a year ago to College Road, so we wanted to introduce ourselves. We are concerned about the project, so we'll just go on record as saying that. And it was really the construction in a wetlands area that got our first attention. We understand that's a state issue, not a local issue. But I think that's a significant one, because if nothing else, just to put it out there, it was perplexing. I couldn't have thought of a worse place to start building a driveway than through the woods in a wetlands. With 10 acres and 10.5 acres, but that's aside. We look forward to meeting all of you in person someday when COVID allows, but also at the meeting in February where we look to participate.
Yes. No, thank you very much for that introduction. And like I said, yes, we love to, we encourage people to voice their opinions and concerns, and our job is to make sure that the people that need to hear those, hear them, and then make proper judgments toward them. So thank you. Very nice to meet you, and welcome.
Well, thank you. We love the town.
Anything further on this? Great. Well, again, thank you very much. We do appreciate it when we hear from the community. We don't often get people who are willing to come to the meetings. I think virtually now it actually encourages more to come. So thank you all very much for participating in our government and the way things work. And hopefully very shortly you'll have some resolution to your issue.
Thank you.
Very good.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mark.
Welcome. Thank you.
All right. Okay, I'm getting out of this here.
Yes, I am too. Good night, all.
Good night.
All right. Leave.
Do it again, do it again.
There you go, Joe.
Okay. Moving on. We are now to, I'm just going to give a quick highway, Mary, and then we'll jump to you because there really is very little. Okay, we can do that because I think we're going to breeze through several of these. So highway, Norm's obviously been very busy the last few days, 4 or 5. It's amazing how much 1 to 2 inches of snow and ice can occupy so many hours of a day and deplete so many of our resources in terms of salt. And I do commend them on the wonderful job they did and the number of hours they pretty much worked every day for the last 8 to 10 days. So we do appreciate their efforts. There was a slight little mishap with our friend outside the depot. The man waiting for the train was hit by the plow. Luckily, it was not a real man, it was a statue. And Matthew Perry did reach out and to Norm, and Norm, obviously apologized. It was certainly not intentional. And we did assure Matthew that we would pay for the repairs. Matthew has come, he's taken the statue back to his workshop. He is going to do the repairs. Certainly for the amount, he submitted an invoice that we didn't quite get a chance to obviously put on the warrant because we just received it today. It's a minimal amount that I will follow up with Matthew tomorrow to let him know that we will take care of that, but it's a minimal amount. And Lori, I don't know if you got a copy of that.
It's already been entered for payment, and Mary will print that in the next day or so.
What was the amount?
210.
$210 minimal. Yep, it's 35 for materials and just his hours of putting it back together. And we do apologize. I mean,
No, it sucks, but
yeah, certainly no intentions, and things like that do happen, and we move on and we rectify, and hopefully our taking care of the cost will rectify the issue.
we love the old man waiting for the train.
Yep, it's been there, and what I didn't realize too, it's in the letter we got, it's been there for 10 years. So that's a long time to wait for a train.
He suggested maybe he needs now to put a cane on it, which I
Yeah.
thought was a nice idea. Yeah.
Yeah, he might need it, might not be able to stand up straight without those toes. But anyway, I think that was about it. He did mention he's obviously already ordered more salt. And just a quick note, he was slightly injured on the job, so we do wish him well. He is working through it and is waiting to hear back on kind of how to move forward with it, but it's certainly, we wish him well and hope for a speedy recovery. It's a low foot injury that I'm sure is very tough in his line of work. And so that is it for highway. DRB, I guess we do have a little bit of news. Lori, we're saying that is that officially scheduled now before I announce that?
February 15th is what Billy told me today. His question was switching rooms.
So
Because
can we announce that as a tentative date then? Just until we-
tentative would be best. I did ask the water department if they would move to a different space on that night. But they haven't replied to me.
Okay, so we'll wait on that. So tentatively, that will be, anything else?
February 15th.
February 15th, and we don't have a time yet, correct?
He said 7 PM on February 15th, but again, tentative,
Tentatively, yes.
right?
If it makes a difference, or if we get stuck with space, I'm on the camera. I can take the photo, yeah. I still have a 50 by 30 foot 2-story room that could be a meeting space on my property.
Oh.
So if we need space, I can supply that.
Nice of you to offer, realize it may be a well-attended meeting, judging from, I don't think it will be huge, but,
It's just got a lot of air.
okay, well, thank you for that, and I guess we can,
Keep it as a backup.
waiting to hear back from the water board, we'll keep that in mind, thank you very much. Planning. I don't think we have anything. Fire department. Nothing that I'm aware of. Water department, I actually did not receive the the minutes for their last meeting. They were just sent out. So I'll be able to report out on those at the next meeting.
For fire department, can I just say that they
Absolutely, yes.
did a fabulous job on my neighbor's house that had a chimney fire this month. They reported admirably and got things done, and everything is safe and everyone is safe. So
I'm sorry, I thought that was last month. I thought I said that at the last meeting.
I I thought it was like at Christmas time.
It may have been. I thank you for saying that, because if I didn't say it, that was one of the things I was going to say. So yes, there was a chimney fire on Park Street. And luckily, some damage, but they did a fantastic job. Some damage, no injuries, saved the structure. So thank you for that. I thought that happened longer ago, and then I mentioned it in the last meeting. So thank you for that. So yes, we are very fortunate. I think that's what I was thinking I was going to say, was how fortunate we are in a village the size of 2,000 that we have a resource like that right in the center of town. So yes, we are very lucky to have them. With that said, we will go to Mary and V. No, we could do that at the end, I think. Yes, let's do this first, and then we can do that, and just to kind of tidy everything up.
All right. We'll do musical chairs. So just before we get into the meat of what I wanted to discuss tonight, I will just briefly say that I have met with 2 entities now, well, 3, including the library, regarding the use of ARPA funds. I had met with the VAE and also with the village school. I had reported out to Erin about the discussion on the village school. So I encourage both of those entities I encourage them at the time and continue to do so, to make a proposal, because both of them have projects and things that look to be well within the use of ARPA funds. And if there is any other nonprofit or anybody else listening who is interested in discussing this with me, I'm happy to do so at any time. So bear that in mind. I do not intend to talk about anything to do with ARPA when we talk about our budget discussion. Just completely separate matter. So when we do that, I won't mention it. Then the only other thing is that the W-2s and the 1099s, I'll have them out hopefully by the end of next week. That will still be a week before they're due, and that's that. So then that brings me to what I really wanted to discuss was budget. We are a little bit behind where we normally would be. Normally we would have met in December, continued our December meeting and talked about budget. So I was hoping that by sending out a draft earlier, that there would be a chance for trustees to take a look and ask any questions or formulate your own lists, so that maybe we can discuss this, come to agreement on this today, and that way I can get Lori's report done for her. But there is one issue within the budget, which is the highway salaries and wages, and that'll have to go into executive session. So I'll go back to my screen so I can share screen if you want.
Yeah.
And then I'll just yell if I have to say anything. Okay.
You can still.
All right. So now let me get that here. So basically, bottom line is, if you exclude the library increase that Jenny had mentioned and was included in here, we're looking at about a $5,000 increase in the app that I prepared for you, which is a penny or less on the mill rate. Couple of things. I just took a look at basically 2 years of history of where we land with things. So most of those are the same. I've left all reserve funds in place. The reserves that we have, I have not changed the level of any of those reserves. The one thing, because we have significant reserves in place, I did move the the fire department, the gear replacement line back to its $5,000 historical level. We now have close to $15,000 in that account. I don't yet, but I encourage the fire department to provide a list of items that ought to be in these reserves. I know we have certain things in here. We have air packs and they know the gear way better than I did send this segment to the fire department and ask them to please review it and get back to one of the trustees or Lori if they wish to appear at this meeting or had any changes that they want to make. So I don't know whether
I guess we're gonna assume they have the questions.
yeah, what that is. And yeah, let's see, okay. So it's
There you go.
oh, there it is. Okay, so the other thing is, okay, then Mark, I also made no changes to the public works. I don't know whether you have anything there. I know that there are projects for which we do have some reserve funds. And I do believe there may be some of those projects that are irrelevant. And I think we ought to look at that.
Before, I wouldn't change anything in the budget. Just because I do think that some of that ARPA money can certainly be used. Anytime you're talking about outdoor spaces for community use, that kind of fits right into all of that recovery money. So yeah, I think it would be premature to.
And then moving into highway. Matt, did Matt?
He just said, I think he just said he agreed.
Oh, okay. Moving into highway, and most of this level with last year, we still have a significant amount of money this year for road projects, road sidewalks, culverts, that whole nut of that, because we carried over from last year. But I think if we can get ourselves into a habit of keeping a steady budget, if we can at least start a project in the fiscal year, roll the remainder of that into the next fiscal year, and then you're not going up and down with things. And you know, taxpayers can see the results that we're doing.
And I do think there are several projects that could eat up quite a bit of that money.
Yeah. With regards to various grants, there may be some grants that come up next year. I know the one that we just are looking at, there may be some small cost to that. I just don't even know what it is, so I haven't budgeted it, and I'm at this point, I'm not gonna worry about it. It shouldn't be significant. And then the last section is the payments to other organizations, which for Lori's report, this will be included with no change from last year, and then the library can go to the annual meeting and request that increase. So at that point, I won't see anything. As far as our insurance, we still should be okay with that. I'd included the insurance comparison in one of the documents there. And actually the annual cost is like $27,500, but there's always little changes here and there. The one thing we probably ought to look at some point is whether the valuations of buildings are really what they ought to be. Maybe this year we leave it alone. I know the water department is doing some detailed work with the VLCT insurance people to really make sure that their properties, their buildings, et cetera, are done the same. But we've got enough going on with A, we don't own this building, and B,
We started a little, somebody reached out for some of that earlier this year. Some of the evaluations I know for the park, and I think we addressed it to the best of our ability then, but
there was one question on something in the park that I don't know if it ever got in.
concession pavilion. Yeah. But yeah, no, I think you're right. I think at some point we do have to get somebody in the know to come and really do
Well,
it.
and VLCT will do that for us.
Perfect.
So just something to keep in mind for next year. So that said, that, again, if you take out the $2,400, that's the libraries, that basically brings you down to an increase of under $5,000.
I just had a couple questions.
Yeah.
Remind me what goes into garage all expenses,
You go back to that page.
Yeah, go back.
Garage,
because I think you decreased that amount,
yes, I did.
and I'm wondering,
Looking at, let me go up here. We had $25,000. In last year's budget, we increased it to $25,000. This used to always be more like $18,000 or something. But then we really overspent in the 2020 year. So we increased it in the 21 budget. We didn't even need that much. Then I'm looking at what we have in our current budget, and we're not even coming close to that. So what is in here is basically everything. It's all the uniforms and the rugs, including the depot ones. It includes all the small supplies that go with that. All
garbage bags.
all, yes, that go for the depot as well as there. It includes basically small tools.
So I guess the reason I'm asking that is just knowing what's going on in the world today. Does it make sense to not decrease that? Because I'm not sure. So I know Norm did do a lot of pre-ordering and bulk buying this year because he was a little nervous about supply chain, especially with like garbage bags and things that he knew we were going to go through. I just,
For $1,200, you're not.
it doesn't matter. Okay.
I would say yes, if it was $5,000, $6,000, $1,200 is still way more than we have budgeted the last 5 years. Well, going back previous to 2021.
That answers that question. Makes sense. And the only other question I had, and I know we just completed the audit. In a year when we know, so you suggest skipping the audit reserve fund?
We still have some now. I have always been, and I will always be, a proponent of having an annual audit. I think when you have an annual audit, yes, you incur a cost, but your cost overall, you're going to pay more for a 3-year audit than you do for a 1-year audit.
So a 3-year audit would actually probably cost more than 3 1-year.
No, it would not. I don't mean to say that, but I'm saying that what we pay for our 1 year, what our last audit was for 3 years. You wouldn't have to budget that much every year if you did an annual audit.
So do we have,
You can get them probably better. What I like about them from my perspective is that there's an awful lot of work to do to compile records going back 3 years, every 3 years, because not everything that's important to us is important to an auditor. And things that are not important to us are very important to an auditor. So I have files and files of things that an auditor's someday going to need.
so I guess my question is, in a year where we're doing very well with the budget, are you saying that we have enough in the reserve fund already, which is why we're skipping it? Or should we, because we're doing so well with the budget, does it make sense to keep funding it for a year where we're not doing so well in the budget and we could skip it then?
No, you have enough for probably 3 or 4 years at least of audits that we have in our reserve.
That answers that question too. Thank you very much. Scratch that off my question list.
Mary, I think,
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Matthew.
I think this is a very level-headed budget, and I think we're looking incredibly good. And I think in these times of everything else just going nuts cost-wise, this looks good to me. And Mark answered, or you answered some of Mark's questions that I had, and I think that I'm actually kind of intrigued by the street light thing. That was costing us 23,000 3-4 years ago. Why is that getting less expensive?
That's because we did the upgrade to the,
No, that was after the upgrades. We were still, I remember David and I worked on that and
So
it
they
was
took,
still
they took
higher than I
away
think.
some of the streetlights, Matt. They did an assessment and they removed some of them.
Yeah,
So for
Mhm.
example, there used to be 4 on my street, and now there's only 2.
okay.
And then all the LEDs
No,
is
but
saving a lot of money.
yeah, no, we did those changes and we saw it, we realized some savings, but I didn't realize that. I still recall them being a little higher than that. So I'm pleasantly surprised that those are looking a little better
Much
for
like,
whatever reason.
he's been there 10 years and we didn't realize it. It hasn't. It's been a while since we've been in the 20,000s on our streetlights.
Okay,
Is recollection.
all right, good.
I mean, it's 5 years ago, certainly, but it's not 2 years ago or 3 years.
So again, I'm happy with this, and I think that there was a question as to whether we can make a motion on this tonight because it wasn't in the agenda properly or something, but
No, I don't know that it wasn't in the, no, I didn't mean to suggest it wasn't in the agenda. I just thought that maybe I should have asked Lori to be more specific, to list it out separately. I don't know. Pat.
I don't think we need a motion to put, this is the budget we're presenting. The motion will be made at the annual meeting. So we decide on, this is the budget we're happy with, which I think we still need to, we can't do that right this second because we do need to go to the executive to discuss a few items we can't discuss because it has to do with employees. But we usually just meet, we put together a budget and then the voters vote on it. I don't think we need a motion to approve it. Is that correct, Lori?
Well, you can make a motion to accept the budget to present at the annual meeting.
Do we usually do that?
Yeah,
Okay. So, well, again, we yeah, so we can, yeah, so we can, it looks like we can, because I'm of the same opinion. This is getting easier and easier every year with the amount of work done by Mary, and I know Lori
Yes.
helped with that as well. So it's it makes our job a lot easier, and I'm happy with the numbers we see. But I think before we make an informed decision, we do have to discuss the one section in executive, which means we will be making a decision coming out of executive. So I think in that case, we have to keep, I believe we would keep Cat TV. Do we have to have them, do we have to be online to take action?
if we're gonna make a suggestion, a change in the budget based on payroll issues, then that will change the numbers. Then do we need to,
continue the meeting
yeah, we can do that.
because
Well, we can also,
Mary might need a minute.
Hold on, but when you come out of the meeting, if you're simply saying you are accepting a budget to present to the voters, isn't that sufficient, Lori?
Yes. Yes, it is.
and do we have to do that while we're still on Cat TV is my question. Does anybody know that?
So it needs to be in the minutes, which it will be.
Yep.
And I know that at other meetings, they've left and we've just had it notated in the minutes because the minutes have to be published anyway.
Okay. So I'm happy with that. All right, and I'm sorry, so
I do have one other request. Sorry, Matt.
that's what I was gonna do. I was gonna say you had one more.
And that is, I put in my notes that I would like the trustees to consider some short-term goals. The most important, and I am willing to spearhead gathering information for all of you for these goals. The most important of which is to work with the several of the local energy committees and experts to have all of our municipal buildings, which is only a few, the depot, the garage, and the fire department, have some comprehensive energy audits done to result in a proposal on how to convert the fossil fuel heating systems to a renewable energy system. And also then through that process, identify what grants are available to help us do so. Now, I know with the fire department, that whole building is part of the pre-mitigation disaster planning stuff. So, but it still can't hurt to have some information as to what the next steps are, much like Scott Creedy mentioned. If you look at our annual reports, we talk about energy efficiency, some of which is cost reduction, because who doesn't like that? But the other part is that if we're serious about this, we just shouldn't be using at all. And that can be one of the things to help us get there. So I'd like to look at that. I'd like to explore a little bit about what we do with our garage space and the efficiency and the utilization of that building. I'd like to add a couple of other things in there, which is a really comprehensive look at all of our telephone and communications and all of that kind of stuff. And include in that a cybersecurity review. Because especially when we start going to putting things on websites, etc., something I don't know enough about. And I know when my grandmother had trouble with technology, I thought it was endearing. When I do, it's just bad. So,
Yeah.
so these are things that I think, need to be learned. And so I like to see if we could, I don't know that it will have a budget impact, but there may be some expense to some of this.
Along that thought process, would it be wise in any way to look at older streetlights?
I think all of this has to be comprehensively looked at. And then as well as that, you can work with them. I'm trying to think of the agency that's escaping me. But they help you balance your load of what you use. And that's all part of the overall state usage, not just ours. Yeah. So I think there's just, it's not making decisions. It's not necessarily spending money. It's not committing to anything. But if we're willing to jump into some of these things, there may be a cost to bringing an expert in to looking at something. I can't imagine it's thousands, but
like translating the solar thing, it might cost a lot to outfit, but if it's $17,000 a year to pay for, that would be a big thing to chip out of the budget.
or perhaps there's a what do they call it? The solar fields that are out there that you can buy into.
Right.
Oh, these are, I mean, again, I think one of the things we've all brought, not just this board, but in members in the past, over my time on the board is, I think we're getting better and better every year of looking to the future and planning things out. And in my opinion, there's no such thing as bad information. So if you're talking about exploring things for the sake of exploring them and getting guidance from people who are much smarter than I am, I'm all for it. It makes sense to, if we have somebody willing to to put the time into it, to dive into those things, I would welcome that. So is that it for? Okay, so we will again have another short discussion in executive to tidy up the budget, and then we will make a, well, there's a few other things we have to go through. We will make a motion to that. We are now in any new business, I believe. I have a brief for new business. As everyone here knows, and many out there might know, 2.5 years ago, I had announced that I was stepping down from the board, reluctantly, but needing to do so, and then nobody ran. So I certainly wasn't going to leave the board hanging, so I stayed on for another year. And then tried number 2 last year and offered again that if nobody ran, I would stay on, and nobody ran and I stayed on. And yeah, so I heard the 3rd time's a charm. I'm going to test that saying. So I am planning on stepping down this March. I will not stay on if nobody runs. So I am, as I mentioned earlier in the meeting, these small villages like ours in Vermont are incredible assets. It's a huge eye opener to step into these boards and have an impact on your community. And I've taken much more from it than I've given to it. And I appreciate all the people I've worked with and everything I've been a part of for the village. I've just reached my time. And luckily I'm not going anywhere, so you may see me again, but as of March, I will be stepping down. Earlier, we had a citizen step up and say he was planning on running for one of 3 now positions that will be open on this board. And as much as we encourage people to come to these meetings and let us know what's going on out there and voice your opinions, that is only part of how this government works. And the other part is stepping up and sitting on this side of the table and hearing those problems and doing something about them. And I encourage anyone out there that has an inkling, this is the time. I wouldn't have changed anything about what I've done, but these boards are better when there is a little turnover, new ideas, new energy. And I think that's exactly what's needed now. You'll be joining 2 very competent other members and a wonderful group of people to work with. So please, if you have any inkling that you would like to be part of it, this is the year to step up because we are in great need. That is my new business. Any other new business?
Yes. Well, we're speaking of opportunities for the villagers. Let me stop sharing.
Oh, I'm sorry.
While we're speaking of opportunities, if there is anyone out in the listening public who would like to have thought about perhaps serving as in a treasurer capacity, I am here to help, mentor, and train anyone who may be interested. Like Mark said, you have no idea what's involved until you actually get involved, but it's a fabulous experience to do. I'll be honest, it's a labor of love as much as anything else, but you will learn far more than you can imagine. So consider if you are so inclined, and there are any number of ways that this can be done. I think I have several ideas on how we could maybe help someone who's newer to come in. Yes, does have to be a village resident. So I'll just simply put that out there too. So thank you.
Any other new business? Okay, we move to old business. And I
In
know,
terms of old business, we would like to have a meeting, a public hearing sometime between now and next month to put to the public several ordinances that we want to bring forth that conform and match the town of Bennington's ordinances, specifically 9, which is animal control, and then 11 through 18, as well as 24 and 30, which all are relevant to our recent topics in town or in the village. And we need to have a public hearing for those so that people can say yay or nay. And then hopefully we can adopt those and align ourselves with the ordinances that exist in Bennington. And then move forward from there with some of the more difficult ones. So I'm not sure when we could have this meeting. Lori, how much notice do we need to have for a public hearing? You know,
30 days.
30 days. Oh, so we really have to push it to the next meeting.
Yeah, that's what we're running into right now with the DRB meeting. You know,
Okay.
we're trying to get everything by the 15th of this month.
Okay.
So it'll be legal for February 15th. Yeah.
So our next meeting isn't even 30 days from now.
No, it's not. Isn't it the 8th or the
Yeah.
7th? 8th?
Yeah.
February 8th.
Okay. So we would have to go beyond the 11th in order to get 30 days from now. Can we have it at the next meeting, or is it legitimately not okay?
oh, if it's 30 days, we can't.
You can't, no.
Sarah, I would make the suggestion that, and I think that you've got the right approach to this, that there just has to be that public hearing. It needs to be called, you have the hearing, then you can move on. You know, whether anybody shows up or not. But I think that probably at this point, it might be better waiting till, you know, getting through the annual meeting and stuff. And then we're gonna have a new board and we, you know,
I think the only problem with that, I understand the reasoning. We have citizens that have been, I talk to them every single week, several times a week, and this is something we've been working on for such a long time that I
with
think
the animal control in
Right.
particular.
that's what we did. So when Tara and I met, we kind of prioritized those that were pertinent to a lot of the issues we're seeing right now. So all of those that we mentioned are directly related to some of the more pressing issues that we're dealing with right now, and they're fairly straightforward. So but I do understand your thought process, but I would love to at least get something done on this before I step down. If that makes sense, just because there's been a lot of noise about this for over a year now.
Having said that, could we do it on the 17th, which is a Thursday in February, which is more than 30 days and gives Lori time to breathe? Would that be feasible?
I'm good with that if that works.
That just requires the warnings being published within the next few days and then holding the meeting.
And
But-
Tara and I will get together to make sure that the paperwork is, you know, it's readable the way. I think what would happen is we would have the public hearing, and then maybe take action on it at the next meeting. So I don't think we have to take action on it at the public hearing unless we were ready to, and everything, we got everything in order, but we could then take action on it at the March monthly meeting and then make the announcement at the annual meeting as well.
And is that all we need, Lori? Because I'm not sure that there isn't a waiting period after that.
There is,
There
sorry,
is.
there is a waiting period after, but once we adopt it, I believe it's either 30 or 60 days.
You can
Before-
adopt it, Matthew, and then there's a waiting period.
Yeah, so we can adopt it if we want.
Um,
And then
So
we
if
deal.
you want me to post the warnings, then I just need some language from you, Tara or
So
Mark.
Tara's she's gonna get the headings for all the ordinances, so there will be
You
a
know, if you
public hearing on the animal control ordinance, a public hearing on,
send it to me in a Word document or whatever,
I can do that.
and in the next day or so, and I'll put it together and post it, and then you'll be good till then.
she gave the thumbs up, so the 17th, is that what we said?
17th, a Thursday, I'm assuming at 7 o'clock.
Matthew, does that sound all right? I know.
I'll be out of town, but I hope to be there virtually.
And we'll get the information to Aaron.
It should be barring public comment, fairly straightforward, and, you know, we can have everything lined up and very organized and ready to go. But you can go in and fill it out.
It's,
Okay? All right, so Lori, we'll get that to you. Any other old business? Oh, I'm sorry, I did have one more. Matthew, we said we were gonna put off the hazard mitigation until after the holidays, so,
So I just received an email yesterday from Allison Stroll. You know, Bill Bratcher is leaving the BCRC and Allison's taken over, and she sent out an email suggesting I'm sensing kind of a late winter. I'd like it to be earlier, but I'm gone. Well, she likes a virtual thing anyway, so you know, if we could set up something in mid-February or earlier, you know, with our planned partners. She said that Bill left a very good paper trail of what's going on, but really she just wants more of an introduction, that there does have to be a public meeting. And that this could be the public meeting that is a step, you know, that is set up. I don't have her email in front of me, but I'll follow that down. But basically we've agreed that we need, you know, fire department, Norm, Tim at the school, we're hoping.
Ted Tella already said, so Ted, Ed Myers, and Norm have already confirmed, they're all set.
Good.
So if you've got an email chain started with Allison, do you want me to forward? Do you have that contact information for, I know you've got it for Norm, but for Ted at the water department and Ed at the fire department?
Well, Ed doesn't have email, or does he now?
No, but I send things to Ed Harrington, and Ed
Right.
Harrington gives them to Ed Myers.
Right.
But they don't check their email that often.
I know.
So I can, if things are moving, just let me know, because I can text Ed.
If you would just, Mark, if you would just send me maybe the chain or what you have with those parties, I'll get them to Allison, And then, we'll end up with a Zoom meeting at some point that
Okay.
will or will not be warned. It could just be an introduction thing. She pointed out that she basically has maybe 4 months to do this before she goes on maternity leave. And then maybe there'd be, she said maybe there'd be somebody else in the office to pick it up, but here it is.
He mentioned Tim. We haven't talked to Tim yet, but he's on the list to talk to about it. So what I'll do, Matthew, is I'll send you an email with Norm and Ted also in that email,
Yes,
just saying that you have spoken to Allison. And then you can maybe include them into something with Allison and start that chain. And you can leave me in the chain for any early things that are happening if I need to sit in for you, if you're out of town.
yep. Thank you for that. And in addition to that, just to circle back to October, November, I believe that Norm has complied with our request for another dog poo receptacle. Do you know about that?
Yeah, I thought it got ordered.
Right. And maybe not installed, but that's in the works. So this is all coming down from our Uber from Rob from the fund, who is wanting to kind of push some of these issues, that putting one of those up, another one of those up. And I just want to assure him that that's going to happen.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Do you?
Norm protested, but I think I made it clear that that's, it's being paid for by the fund and that we want it done. And I understand his concerns, it's more work, it's, but, and then I was able to secure in the exodus of the Powers Market, the bike rack that, and maybe I mentioned this last month, but I have I have in hand the bike rack that we got from BCRC many years ago when we talked about doing this project. It's a very simple 2-hoop thing that gets set in concrete, and the fund was willing to, in addition to that, I think, explore or purchase another one, and Tara had some ideas with that. But I do know that, in the short term, when spring comes around, they're going to want we need to decide where these are going to go.
Yep.
What the other one will be and where it'll go. And I want to let Rob know that we're
Sure.
getting.
Yeah, I will, I'm meeting with Norm on Friday. So I'll ask him. I'm almost positive I saw it somewhere along the
He
chain
did.
of-
He said it
that
was
it
ordered.
So I don't remember seeing it on the warrant, but it probably would have been a smaller amount and under highway, so I might not have noticed it, but I will double check to see where we're at now. Obviously, we wouldn't install that until end of March, April,
Right.
I assume, so.
And the only other clarification I was seeking was on what did we decide on the traffic control devices?
I think we were all in favor of something. I don't think we decided exactly what. And I do know, didn't Norm send us another email with the one on the trailer? So I think we're at the point now where we just gotta make a decision on what, although we just haven't decided. I thought we were all kind of in favor of something. And possibly getting 2 pole mounted. Kind of in the gateways to North Bennington.
Mechanic Street and 67.
Yeah, I think over coming in by Homestead Muse.
Yeah.
I think that was one, and then I think Mechanic Street kind of up by the highway department.
I don't know if anybody knows this, but if you go through, Manchester, where they have their cool mounted ones on the Christmas holidays, it will say on the bottom, not for nights.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can change all the. Yeah, yeah. No, I think we did. I remember the discussion. I know we're all in favor. I think Norm was gonna send us out some literature on it, and he did. And I think that was
I didn't see it present.
right. So I think we're just kind of gotta narrow it down on what style we want and how much we're willing to spend. But you know, maybe we should just go ahead and put it on the agenda for next month, so we remember to get on that and make a decision.
I think that'd be worthwhile. You know, an action item for sure. Make a decision, move on. Maybe same for another bike rack, Tara.
Yeah.
If there's any, you know,
Lucy and Zen are planning to be up this weekend, so we can both talk to Lucy about website and Zen about bike racks. If anyone wants to grab a hold of either of them.
Also, as an update on the bike racks, last time when we were talking about this, the library had,
oh, right.
yeah, the library had that, request out, that grant request. Well, they've got the grant. Just got the money on that like last week or so. So they will be this spring installing a concrete pad for a bike repair station, and you can put your bike up there, and then it's got all the tools on the lanyard and a pumping thing.
Incredible.
Great.
Yeah.
So maybe that's a place to consider. Talk to Jenny about exactly where that's gonna go, and maybe consider a better or nicer looking bike rack down in that area.
Yeah, and that would be good to coordinate with them too, because if they're pouring a pad for one thing, if we coordinate and we need to, I'd hate to go down there and then pour another pad for a bike rack. So it might make sense to talk to them before they put that in, and maybe just get together and, yeah, it's a lot cheaper for.
A minimum order of concrete doesn't make up a bike pad, so, or a pad, so 2 pads is better than 1.
And not to mention, there's always a cost just to get the truck to go there, so
Exactly.
we can only get it there once, that would help. Yeah, exactly, and at least then we can have one uniform instead of 2. So yeah, we should coordinate with them.
Did the fund have a destination in mind for the bike racks? I know that it was at the kind of roundtable meeting that they had someone bring up bike racks, but did they actually say where they want them, or did they leave that?
No, they made some suggestions, but the fund, the board, based on those recommendations, has agreed to pay what's necessary for these, you know, whether it's just the pad in the case where we already have one, or another pad and a new installation. That they'll do it. You know, I think if you had one at the library and one at the train station, would be a pretty good. I mean, they already have racks at the school. So, or
I think the other
train
place-
station, or over towards the park, you know, but
Yeah, I was thinking, probably over toward Lions Park would be a perfect spot for one. And that would kind of obviously allow you to access anything downtown, and then, you know, depending on how many we end up getting. I know I've seen people riding bikes 2 the mile around the woods to then go walk because you can't ride your bike there, so. And if the fund were looking there, I don't know where exactly we would put it there, but that's also a thought.
right down by the poop station,
Yeah.
the bottom of the hill.
Yep. And then the other possibility would be, you know, at Waters Park. That would get, you know, people down there a little more, maybe if they could bike and.
Down there, I feel like people can bike down there and not worry about locking their bike up.
Yep.
As
Yeah,
you
you're-
know what I mean? Like, so that's kind of a concern I feel
Yeah.
like in town, if you're gonna leave your bike, because you're commuting, maybe even commuting to, crazy idea, but you're commuting to North Bennington to work or something, and you want to park your bike somewhere.
Yeah.
Um,
No, that makes sense.
but let's put that on the agenda next month. I'll ask Rob what, if there's any specific recommendations, since they're paying for it.
Okay, so we'll put speed control and bike racks on the agenda for next month's meeting. Any other new business or old business are we in?
Well, yeah, no,
Excuse me. All right, then I will entertain a motion to enter executive session to discuss employee matters.
so moved.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. All those in favor? Say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Awesome. So thank you, Cat TV.